like in 2017, like all I had was sell golf. Like I was driving a golf. Spend time at Red Hill, hire Annabelle, have 3,000 followers on WHITEFOX, 10 properties on rent roll. I talk about achievable goals, and then they roll, and like you go from 2017 to 2021, and I set these goals on the 30th of the 10th, 2017. But 5 years, you go 3 kids, 3 offices, 3 mil income, executive team for WHITEFOX, buy a Brighton mansion or Albert Park property, like sell golf to that. But then how do you fill it in? It's quite fascinating how if you write it, it then happens, and then you do it the next 5. I predicted my future in 2017 because I do the 2017 first, then I'll do what can I absolutely achieve this year? Well, I can write 350 in 2 months. I can add 10 properties on the rent roll. I can sell my car, my golf for 20 grand. I can have Stephanie Schuller running my back end, which she still does today, and I can hire Annabelle as a receptionist. Easy. 18. And then once you've done that, you go to the grandiose. All right, well, where could I be in 5 years? I wrote 3 fucking kids. I wrote 3 offices. I wrote 3 million personal income. I wrote having an executive team. And then to have that, well, what do you need to do? 2018, triathlon. Convince mum to move to Melbourne. Write 3 million as a business. Have 300 properties on the rent roll. Have a break every 10 weeks. Get new gates at Red Hill. Install a pool. Charlotte invents something. Never ticked it, never invented anything. Personal income over 1 million. 15,000 followers and have a well-known brand. You break it into these things.
Yeah.
And when things change, you cross them out. Like sometimes you can't go to Europe. Sometimes you can't do certain things, but there's very little crosses because you have these moments where you have an epiphany and the vision's so clear, that's when you've got to write it. You can't just say, I'm going to do a goal setting day.
Yeah.
It doesn't work like that. You need to have this moment of like clarity when you're just so dialed in on what it is that you actually want to achieve. That's when you write this stuff out. Like I haven't looked at these for quite a long time. Actually, the last time I looked at them was when I wrote the 2024 ones, when I had that moment of clarity on the 18th of the 10th, 2023. So in 2023, because I've still got my 5 years in here, in 2021, I predicted where things would be in 2024, 2025. They're all here. But I had some severe clarity this year and I wrote a little bit more detailed for this year. And when you have those moments, you get the pen out and you write them and you carry them every day. These come with me everywhere.
Do they?
Yeah, if you have a flat moment or if you have a moment of being let down, you quickly just whip it out and you look at it and you go,
I am the
look at what I've done. I can look back and tell you what I've achieved because on these pieces of paper are my biggest life achievements. It's very hard to memorize every little thing, but when I've got the pieces of paper that prove my blueprint, I can get inspired not by searching outside of what I'm doing. I can look within and inspire myself back up. And I think that's the key thing is that you can look outward for inspiration, but the best inspiration actually can come from within if you document.
Right, mate. Here's the deal. So I'm going to be a little bit honest with you and upfront, which I feel like I can. And 2 weeks ago, if you would have asked, I wasn't actually coming to do a podcast with you. I was down in the dumps a little bit, mentally, physically. I felt like I was taking 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. Between July till literally only 2 weeks ago, I started at 80 kilos, got down to 72. And physically it was like I'd take a step forward, 2 steps back, which then translated mentally. People like us, high performers, we think we're sweet. I'd be like, I'll take 2 steps forward, but then you'd take 3 steps back because identity shift, I'm not operating at that level as I would. Anyways, I was like, Kev, I'm not in the headspace. I'm not coming to Melbourne. Anyways, I saw a reel of yours pop up. And it wasn't the reel where you said WHITEFOX will be $100 million company because of these reasons. It was actually the reel when you popped up and it was like, my health had gone to shit. I was overweight. I had long hair, which was fucking me, even now. And one of the girls had booked you in for a retreat. And I was like, fuck, the rapport's reconnected. I was like, fuck this, I can put myself together, zip up the collar. And I was like, fuck, maybe there's something to learn from you. And the one thing I want my prime intention for this podcast, not only for myself but for the listeners, is to reinstill that belief that we can achieve anything we put our minds to, given the time frame. And from COVID till now, it looks like that has been a reality for you. So I'd love to learn the Marty Fox blueprint.
Look, and it's great that you actually had the courage to come down here and get yourself out of that funk and realising that it's not the last funk. You know, you're going to find yourself in that, you know, mental position all throughout life. Yeah. And it's going to be brought on by many factors. Could be your long hair, could be your bitch tits, could be because your kid gets sick, could be because your missus done something stupid, could be because your finances aren't in check. Like, it's not the end of it. And if life was always like this, I mean, how boring would it be? I've just been in Perth and I've you know, been speaking to people and I've said, oh, how good is this weather? Like, it's blue skies every day. And then one of the responses was, yeah, it gets a bit boring. And it's like, oh my God, like, if something's ever too good, life is boring. Yeah. So it's like, you look at the challenge and you look at the ups and downs and you go, this is great. I get to actually think now. I get to do something different. So I think I'm very blessed that because I grew up with a lot of change, I had to continually adapt. And, you know, I'd been funks all the time at school. You know, I was really badly bullied, like horribly bullied.
Really? Because you're not a bad-looking guy.
No, but that's why, you know, my parents didn't have money. I did a bit of acting. I did a bit of modelling. I was this, I was that. And, like, you know, when I was at school 20 years ago, that was like a faux pas. That was like a bad thing. It's like, but my dad was a hairdresser. I grew up in hair salons. I was around gay people all the time. I didn't see any fucking problem. But when you're called those things and you're getting bullied for literally putting food on your parents' table by doing a photo shoot for Rebel Sport or for Maya or something, and then you've got people calling you that every single day for 5-6 years straight, you have to fight, and you've got to, like, you can't be happy. So I had to find happiness a lot of the time at school whilst my back was against the wall. So I've always found, and I couldn't wait to be an adult as a kid. Like, I hated from 10 to 18. I just wanted to be in the real world where there wasn't those games being played, being ganged up on. Like, I had friends, don't get me wrong. I've got amazing friends, but a lot of the time when kids gang up and they do bully you, sometimes those friends don't have a voice because they're scared that it can be turned onto them.
Definitely.
Which is why I always stand up for the bully. I always fucking back the underdog. And I love being the underdog because you've got that fight in you, and that's when you feel the most alive. So whilst I hated those years between sort of 10 and 18, I was so excited to become an adult, to face the challenges in the adult world, because I was geared and I was ready for it. So how did I get through those funks as a kid? Well, I'd talk about it. I never internalized it. I'd always speak to my mum. I'd always speak to my dad. I'd always speak to my sibling, my brother. I was very good at just getting shit off my chest because I was strong at home, and then I could sort of go into those environments and I could cop the heat. Did it affect me? Did I get upset? Fucking massively. But did I let them see how upset that I got? Nah. I'd let that all out at home in my safe space, in my safe place. So getting into funks in business, I see as quite fun because I know that I can get through. Because there's nothing worse than being tormented as a kid. So if there's any people out there that have had those upbringings where you've had to get through certain things and you're now in a professional setting, just take your mind back to those things. And David Goggins says it beautifully. He puts his hand in that cookie jar and he pulls out those memories that get him through. He shows his strength and his resilience through his memory bank. That's why I pull out those goals here and there and look at them. They're in my cookie jar of where I've been able to come from, off a zero base, off no money, off no partners, off no parents that were financially stable ever. And you got to go through those things. The cookie jars of being tormented, the cookie jars of, you know, Marty, you can't do this, you're the class clown, you can't do that. I was the class clown because I had to find a way to get through. I had to have a laugh. So in business, when I can't get the listing and I can't get the deal, I'm just like, well, fine, next, another day, move on. You got to recalibrate, reconnect, go back into your cookie jar. Like, you started a podcast out of fucking thin air and you're one of the biggest podcasts in the business world in Australia, and you've done it probably without even trying. You just did it. You know, so doing things gets you places.
Yeah.
Doing things opens opportunity. Being busy opens doors. Sitting around and thinking about doing shit makes nothing happen. Nothing. So be a doer. Look back. Reflect on what it is that you achieve, right? Because you will forget it. People have amnesia.
I really like that.
Like, I can just, if I'm having a flat one, I'll pull a random bit of paper and I'll go, what did I do that was of significance in 2022? I toured New Zealand with Rory.
By the way, for any listeners, Marty's got his 5-year goals out in front of him.
Well, no, I've got my goals ever since 2015.
2015.
So this is now
9
11 years.
Well,
I've got 11 years of content in my pocket daily.
Yeah, so check the audio, anyone that's just listening. There is lots of goals.
This sounds like one of the biggest success routines I've heard of.
Yeah, because it's easy. Because it's like, you know, 2022, tour New Zealand with Rory, my CFO. Launched the first New Zealand office. Did it. Build out a private model for growth. Now, we're growing in 2024, right? But I built out the model in 2022. Have both kids at private school. Shah and I to flip 2 small properties. Rory and Marty to solidify their partnership. Lana and Mike to become directors in the business. Graham Wilson to join as a chairman. Open the 3rd WHITEFOX office and get personal debt down to $2 million. Like, how cool is that? Like, I now know, 2022 was all right. It was a bit hard coming out of COVID. There's not some massive... And if you read that, to me, it's not super grandiose. Like, it's all really achievable.
Still a good year.
It's fucking huge year. It's a great year. But now when I look at that year versus 2025, and I read this in my mind, and I see the 10th WHITEFOX office, buying a property in Queenstown, doing my first multi-res development, doing turnover, having 100 staff, having Olive Start Prep, family secure. That means my extended family are secure. You know, I'm excited for next year because I know what next year's bringing. So without having this compass, how the fuck do you get to your destination?
It's a sailor with no a ship with no sailor, right?
Well, you're floating in thin air, hoping for things to happen. I don't hope for anything to happen. I make things happen.
You make things happen.
I make things happen. I don't force them, but I make them. I create them. If you can think it, it can happen. I had an amazing chat last night with this guy, and he said, "Isn't just money hilarious? Like, if we all right now all went down to the same bank that we all bank at, and we said, give us all of our money right now, they may not be able to do it. Yeah. They'd shit themselves. They go, what do you mean? They've taken all of our money and gone and lent it out to someone else. They've got to figure out how to get it back for us. They'll give us a timeline. But it's just numbers. It's all fugazi. It's all in the air. You need to make things happen yourself, because if you rely on someone to the point where you can't even rely on a bank to give you what you already have, is that not saying something?
Yeah. So can I ask a question? When you were setting these goals out from the start, did you always have the goal to step away from listing and selling real estate within a few years of starting WHITEFOX?
No, because that is a grandiose thought that is too far removed from reality. How can you go from being a business owner that's starting to then going, I want to get off the tools? That's like a sports person getting drafted into the AFL and then saying to their teammate, hey, I'm going to retire soon. That does not inspire that person next to you. That says to the person next to you that you're counting down your clock to get out. I had to get out to lift others up because I was too much of an attraction agent. People wanted Marty Fox. Well, guess what? If you can't have him, the next best thing is the team that is being coached by Marty Fox. And I had to get to that point. I had to get to that level. And I think that I'd have to be one of the youngest CEOs ever to say, I'm retiring at 34. Who retires at 34 when they're at the peak of personal debt, they're at the peak of making babies, they're at the peak of trying to fucking build and grow their own asset base, to say, I'm not going to write $3 million anymore, of which as a business owner with no partners at that point in time, you keep 90% of the comms, to going cold turkey. So I haven't listed and sold for 2 years. So what happens? Well, for 1 year, you go backwards.
Yeah.
And that causes rumours and that causes talk. Marty's lost his mind. Marty's doing this. Marty's fucking in debt. Well, hold on a second. No, I lost a lot of money because I wasn't writing $3 million anymore. But do they know that in my personal world, I'd actually banked $3 million in flips?
Yeah.
Net. I sold one property that Charlotte and I made $2.1 million on. So you got to balance the books. I looked at that opportunity of making that amount of money as an opportunity to go, beautiful. I can step back.
Gotcha.
My health aligned, my finances aligned, and the people around me aligned in order for me to go, now's my chance. If you hesitate, you don't get the biscuits. I have zero hesitation in the decisions that I make. And that was that one moment in my life where I was able, literally, to get myself out, to bring others up, and to build this brand out into a national force.
Why do you think you've come into this room? I said this to Daniel when you walked out. I said there's this aura about Marty. What do you think that is, and what separates you from the competitors? And I know everyone's different. What makes you special?
I don't fear the unknown. That's what it is.
Okay.
Because
Where do you think that comes from?
Always being out of my depth. Being in a new school, being in a new country, and having very good constants in my life. Like my mum, my dad, my brother, my wife. I've been with Charlotte for 18 years. I've had my brother since I was 4. I've had my parents from day dot. So if you've got a table that has 4 strong legs, how does this ever fall over? It can't. Like, you cannot make this table fall over if it's got 4 solid legs. I've had these pillars around me for so long that for me to fall has to be something astronomical.
What if someone doesn't have that? So, for example, not playing a victim game, I don't care, but I don't have a family. A close family, close friends not there.
One of the best designs ever is the tulip table. That tulip table, marble top, beautiful, strong base.
Whoa.
The leg's just a bit bigger.
Wow.
That's what it is.
Wow.
Tables come in all different shapes and sizes.
Did you learn that on the block?
I just thought of it just then. I felt what you said made sense.
Wow.
And in that moment, I had to think, well, how can I help you understand what your strength would be?
I see why you work with him now. My gosh.
On the fly.
My Jewish friends call that chutzpah. But that's you, because we're different.
Yeah.
You know? Would it be different for every single person? It has to be, because we're all so different. But I knew how to understand and find my strength. You've got to understand and find yours. And so do you.
Definitely.
One thing that resonated with Mitch, I want to get deeper on with what you touched on, was you now draw a lot of your inspiration internally. You map and design your own life. You're not looking external for influence or validation, which people, when they're trying to figure out what table they are, what's their attributes, and especially I know from my experience in life now, that's something that I'm kind of on the border of, is like transitioning from needing external mentors, for example, the podcast, to taking what I want to achieve from my own internal. How did you develop that skill, and what advice would you give to those trying to figure out their own table?
Well, you've got to understand, like, what is it that makes you happy? Like, so for instance, for me, I love being at home. I love being with my family. So the only way to actually do that is to have money, because that's freedom. So early on, I knew that from my 20s, I could establish a skill set. Like, I really wanted to be good at something, but I was super creative. I wanted to either invent something or have a brand that could be sold. Like, you know, I could sell it into people and they'd be like, I love that brand, or I love that product. And that was only possible once I really understood the mechanics. So I spent 10 years really getting behind the scenes of real estate and doing what you're doing now with meeting great people, but just not podcasting it. So I'd go to
coffees and stuff.
I'd go for coffees all the time with people.
Saying that.
And I'd pick up a little couple of things. I'd implement them into my business. I'd implement things that they were doing and then I tried to do and it just didn't work because it didn't fit my personality. But I just trialed and errored so many different little bits and pieces within the real estate space to form the Marty Fox blueprint. Things from Josh Fegan, things from Tom Panos, things from agents that were writing 400K that I just liked and would take a little inspiration from them. And then I realised that I had to do it my particular way because the industry was buckling with how I wanted to do it. My business partners were pushing back. You know, I started dropping the suits. I started, you know, doing video. I started doing big social text boards and so forth. And it was like I was back at schooling. I was getting bullied from my own team. And that's
Quick one, do suits matter?
Well, it matters if you feel better in it. But for me, when I was meeting people on weekends, I'd never meet anyone in a suit. And after doing a marketing degree, I always knew that one of the biggest advantages that you could have is if you could emulate the person that you were selling to. So if they were casual, then I couldn't get away with being super casual, but I could be smart casual because most buyers attending inspections were smart casual.
Yeah.
So I wanted to be the friendly luxury agent. And that's what it was. I was the friendly dude that would connect, but I'd be a killer behind the scenes and I'd put deals together. I didn't need the bravado of the suit to make myself feel important. I knew that I was important. I knew that I could have an effect on the vendors and the purchasers' lives. I could stitch the deal together, but I could also do it in comfort and with a bit of style. So to keep answering the question of, you know, how did I find my thing? It was just become an expert. And then once you become an expert, you can become creative. It's very hard to be creative when you're still trying to figure it out. Do you know what I mean? Like some of the best creators are experts in their field.
Expert first, creatives off the back of that.
Yes, I always was creative, but the creative without the runs on the board is just someone that has too grandiose of thought.
I like that, which comes back to the goals.
Comes back to the goals. Credibility is built off what you've done, not what you're gonna do. Credibility is built over time. Consistency.
Yeah.
Building others other than yourself. Otherwise, you're just you're not a business. I genuinely wanted to build a business.
So where's the business next for White Fox? Is it more New Zealand offices?
More New Zealand offices, more Australian offices.
Can you give us a little behind the scenes?
Oh, you can hear it here first, but White Fox, Brisbane and Gold Coast are opening this year.
Brisbane and Gold Coast.
Does that mean we bring the board shots out this year?
Brisbane and Gold Coast. There will be an auction called in boardies, I can
Is
guarantee,
it?
this year.
Oh, let's go.
Yeah.
Psych it towards the end of the year, or where are we looking?
2024
2024.
is the date. Location's been picked. Team is aligned.
Wow.
Is aligned.
Out of curiosity, what's the strategic idea about going in each state? Is there a reason for that?
Well, if you look at, say, Victoria, we are about to open another office in Victoria. And that's probably the last office. So there's 5 odd million people here. That'll be our 5th office. If you look at Auckland's got a few million people. We'll probably have 3 offices max. You look at Brisbane, you could probably do 2 offices. Gold Coast, 2 offices. You look at franchise brands and they'll have 50 offices in Victoria. They'll have 50 offices in these other areas. So we're not driven by the numbers of agents. We're driven by the quality and the connection with those agents.
So photography and what have you, are you training photographers?
We edit for New Zealand back here.
Do you?
Okay.
Yeah. So, you know, it's a very different... The way I look at it is we pack the punch of a, you know, $1 billion franchise, but we're a very connected national boutique.
It's a very different model.
It's a model that hasn't existed.
Yeah. So you can send buyers across from each state. There's no...
You can log in
policy.
and see everyone's data because we don't have territories. We don't have patches. We don't have all these limiting beliefs on what you can achieve. There's no ceiling for anyone at White Fox. But there is a style and there is a process. And there is a particular way in which we do things, which that's where we've got the parameters. The parameters aren't on people and territories and those bits and bobs. It's not financial. It's on the creative side. So if we're hiring right and we're creating right, the money comes.
Yeah.
And you can't do this as a business. Like you can't penetrate markets without having that creative influence, which we have. Because you're just a brand that sells a patch, that opens a opportunity. That's not us.
So how did you build your social brand?
By being honest, by being raw, by being organic. You said just before that you've been following for 7 years. I had no idea. And that's the only reason why I'm able to open in multiple states, because my journey can't be poked at. I've got nothing to apologise for, and I've got nothing to really celebrate, because it's just all in one. It's the good, the bad, the ugly. I've put it all out there. So the connection that my partners have with me runs quite deep. I fly into Brisbane and I talk to my partners that are launching WHITEFOX, and their memories and their familiarity with me is 7 years, even though I've only known them on face value for, call it, 6 to 12 months. So they feel very connected because of my social being such an open book.
Are these people coming to you, or are you reaching out to them mainly?
Off the back of launching New Zealand, Perth came to me. Off the back of Perth coming to me and Perth having massive success. I mean, Perth's numbers are outrageous. As a new brand in a location that no one really knew who WHITEFOX was, to be able to do over $1 million in turnover in such a short window of time off a cold start is quite phenomenal.
Yeah.
And when people see that, it causes for more phone calls to come in. So yes, now I'm starting to get a lot of calls from people saying, hey, can we do something? Which I remember, like, my mum's a bit of like a personal prophet for me. She said 3 years ago, sitting in the car, this is what's going to happen. This is what's going to happen. This is what's going to happen. I was like, Mum, really? How? Like, how's all that going to happen? Like, you're mad. And she said, I just feel it. My mum's quite spiritual. She was like, I can see these things unfolding, and, I've got to stop doubting it, because she's been right ever since I was a kid.
Yeah. How about yourself, Marty? Would you say you're spiritual?
Massively. Massively. So is my wife.
How has that played out in your life?
Well, having a very good gut feel. Having a great gut feel is you being able to read energy. So you can't see energy, you can't feel it. You can't see it, but you can feel energy.
Yeah, that.
And, the hair on your back that goes up, the turning of the gut, that's happening because you've felt something. And that's your intuition. And that's your ability to read the play, your chutzpah, your street smarts. That is your EQ. And I value that higher than IQ, particularly in the game of property. But even in the game of life, that will get you further than IQ every day of the week. Because you can have a great IQ, but if you can't connect with people, it's very hard to be able to get by.
Can also be emotionally draining too. How do you keep your energy levels high when you're going through all that?
Well, you need to know what fills your cup.
What fills your cup, Marty?
Being with my family, being with, those that...
Driving a Porsche.
Yeah, but take the Porsche tomorrow. Take the watch tomorrow. Like, I love these things because they, for me, represent things that I loved growing up. Like, I loved... My great-grandfather was a watchmaker. I'll never forget my Uncle Martin, who was one of my idols growing up, had a beautiful midnight blue Porsche, and, it was just my idol. I looked up to him. So, those things were connected to me as a kid. And to get them, it's hard. It's hard to spend $400,000 on a car. It's hard to spend $10 million on a house. It's hard to spend $100,000 on a watch. Like, what the fuck? But if you're able to do it, like, it's for me, it's like, well, why does it, like, are you ever going to discredit a sports person for getting that trophy? They train all their life to stand on a little podium to be clapped to get a gold medal around their neck. Like, that's their achievement.
100%.
There's financial gains in that. Winning a tennis tournament, they get $1 million and they hold up a bit of silverware. Like, why is that any different to the silverware on my wrist? That's my achievement. That's
represents your hard work.
Represents my hard work. Now, a lot of it for some people could be on, borrowed money and all those sorts of things, but it doesn't matter. They still did it. Like, It's people's own insecurities that come out when they tease or bag someone else's achievement. Just let them be. Let it be.
You seem like you're in a really calm headspace and very level. Does anything keep you up at night?
Nothing. I sleep like a lamb. My head hits the pillow and I'm fucking out cold.
Have you always been like that?
Always been like that, because I haven't stolen, I haven't cheated, I haven't done anything wrong where I've got to look over my shoulder and make sure that things are okay. I've done my time. Like I've done the hard yards. I've gone to mentors to ask a question. And my mentors can just be my colleagues. It can be Lana. I ask questions. I'm an open book. I don't always get it right. I trial and error a lot of things. Most of my decisions have 3 outcomes. I've always got multiple roads to run down.
What are the 3 outcomes?
Well, give me an example. Like, it could be a flip. I might hold it, I might rent it, I might sell it, I might go full architecture, I might just go lipstick on a pig. I might, there's always options. Like, I've got a European holiday coming up soon. And last night, Charlotte and I were talking about it. Do we go to Europe? Is there too much conflict? Is it a little bit unsettling? Do we want to take the kids? What if something happened? Will that traumatise them? Do we just pull the pin? Should we go next year? Should we wait till Bonnie's a little bit older? Should we just go to, Red Hill and then Noosa? Do we keep it in Australia? Like, you can't be so fixated and stuck in the sand on anything. I'm constantly trying to just get that little bit better, and you have growth pain. You have shifts in energy. You have shifts in mindset. You got to pull yourself back in. There's been times when Charlotte and I have been pushed to the brink. We've had to go to marriage counselling. You've got to find the people that are the experts to unlock how things work. I don't know how to build out this company. I spent $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 running down that franchise path, speaking to lawyers. A year and a half ago, people were going, "Oh, you got to be here, you got to be there." And what I realised is agents didn't want to hear the F word. They wanted to be with me. They wanted to be in business. They didn't want me to clip the ticket.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you have multiple routes. You got to weigh up all options. You got to figure out what's going to work for everyone so that there's never friction. Like, when's friction ever been a good word?
Never.
Like, so
friction kills the
limit
deal.
friction and things are flowy. That's why I'm feeling quite calm, because I've got no problem in just hitting shit on the head pretty quick and finding a solution. I'm solutions focused. I don't talk about problems. I want to resolve problems. Sorry, I don't want to dwell on problems. I want to resolve problems.
Resolve, not dwell. Well, mate, it sounds like you're pretty flexible in flow commercially. What's the routine look like personally that keeps you optimal? Like, do you have a routine or a structure there?
Yeah, I definitely, if I sleep in, I'm definitely off for the day. So I now know that if I'm in bed past sort of 6:30, the day's not as good as what it could be.
Yeah.
And see, even that in itself is a problem that I now have to fix, because why is it an issue? Why am I so fixated that it has to be early? Now, I'm probably guessing that it's because the kids are so high touch at the moment. They're so full on. You got 3 kids under 6 with a puppy now in the mix. All of a sudden, you need to get shit done before they're all up and about.
Yeah.
So right now, I feel guilty if I don't get my workout done and I don't sort of release that energy before tackling the day. So it's pretty basic. Like, you talk to a lot of high performers, they want to be out fit and healthy. They want to have a bit of a stress release. For me, the biggest thing is like...
Do you have a stress release?
Well, yeah, it's training, but I love to have a night out. But the thing is I then don't like a hangover. So I'm in that phase now where it's like, fuck, I don't want to have a night out, but I do want to be able to switch off mentally. And you got to find ways to do that. CBD oils and this and that. It's like, you need to find ways to do it. I'm lucky that I had my heart issues because, I've never been into, recreational drugs, but having a really severe bout of pericarditis just like solidified how important health is. Don't get too maggot. Don't push yourself so hard that you really feel it.
Yeah.
Stay clear. You can stay clear, but also don't be a fucking stiff. You gotta have a bit of a laugh.
You gotta have some fun too.
You gotta have some fun. So just, I don't know, everyone's super different. And I'll change. I've evolved a lot in 2 years. because my adrenals are now looked after. Because when you're listing and selling, you can't help but be on that roller coaster.
No.
I feel for agents. I feel for that pressure, that constant pitch, that constant I'm better than the next guy. If you think about agency, that's what it is. You're telling someone why they need to be with you, even when you think that you've got the business. Like a lot of agents lose the business because they think it's in the bag.
Yeah.
And then that next person that's just a little bit younger, a little bit hungrier, a little bit more into it ends up getting it.
Yeah.
And you're like, what? How did that happen? Because I was once that younger guy,
Yeah.
and I was also once that guy that felt like it was just on a platter.
For sure.
So the adrenals of an agent is something that's very hard to manage. And I love the fact that I am calmer now because I don't have that constant fight or flight.
Yeah. Now, I've asked this on a recent podcast, but I'd like to get your take on it. You coach and mentor a lot of agents throughout the country in New Zealand.
Well, not anymore because I can't.
The directors at least as well, though, right?
The sales directors in WHITEFOX, I coach
Yeah.
every single week. But I can't do what I used to do, which was
Every agent.
every agent, random people DMing and all those sorts of things. That is how you lose
Yeah.
the fluids in your cup. That is how you can drain your energy, because what you have to say to those people is, well, I've only got, 12 hours in the day, of which those 12 hours are in meetings, and then I might have a few hours that are spare, which I'm going to have to charge you for it. And it's like, fuck, it gets to the point where you just can't do it.
Yeah. So the agents in the office, for example, the ones that are in your office and you're coaching and mentoring them on the fly, what do you think the biggest roadblock is with agents within the company where they're not getting the results that they want? Now, I'm not saying that the agents in the office are obviously doing
I'll tell
amazing,
you.
but what's the bottleneck?
No, WHITEFOX, like any business, has turnover.
Yeah.
And it all comes from within. For somebody to leave when they're in a position at WHITEFOX, it normally comes off the fact of wanting to blame someone else for their own ability to not perform. And that's because I've been in brands that don't really do much. Like I've had to get myself in that leadership level. When I was in my early 20s, I was working at a brand that was a boutique that not many people knew about, went through a rebrand. And I've got notes where I was writing 220, 230, 240, 250 a month selling apartments over 10 years ago. So if I have an agent that's at WHITEFOX that says, the brand's not as, powerful as this or that,
yeah,
I just go, dude, like, I understand that, but you're not convincing enough. You don't have your pitch down pat, because how Lana pitches is different to how I pitch. It's different to how Takarzio pitches. It's different to how Jesse Rayburn pitches. He or she who is more convincing wins.
True.
And if you think of politics, you've got far left and you've got far right. And you've got someone in between. But yet it's always these two people at two ends of the spectrum that happen to be fighting for that presidency.
Yeah.
But neither of them are wrong. But the one that wins is the one that's the most convincing, that gets the most votes. Is that not unique, that you've got two very different thoughts? And that's how I've always been with boutique and franchise, or just you and your competitor. It's two people that are saying two different things that are trying to convince the one person to make a decision. He or she who's most convincing wins. Know your pitch down pat and unequivocally believe it 100%. Look at them in the eye and say, this is why you're going to have a better experience and ultimately make more money by backing me in. Now let me explain how I'm going to do it. That's how simple this is.
I noticed something when you were walking around, and does this actually help you in your listing appointments? You're very good at storytelling. You'll tell a story about the first contract for sale, but you're constantly telling a story.
Correct, because you build rapport.
Yeah.
Storytelling is rapport building.
Storytelling
puts children to sleep. Storytelling keeps people in their chairs listening. If you can't tell a story, then you are not getting the most out of the situation.
Yeah.
Okay? Because you can't connect. And when I walk through a room, when I see a cornice, back when I was selling, when I saw a dog, when I saw a tree, when I saw a fence, when I saw a facade, when I saw a bit of art, when I saw a car, when I saw a relationship, I would have a story for nearly every single one of those different things.
How long do your listings go for, usually?
Depends on what the person's energy's like. If we were vibing, we'd go for a while. If there's no vibe, I'll cut it short and say, look, you're probably not right. Never had the listing before you went there. So it was always just like, let's just have a laugh. Let's be to the point. Let's get along. Let's try and connect. Let me try and show you value without big noting. Let me try and show you my skill set without laying it out on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
And let's see if we can do business together. So it's very different. Like I'm almost one of the worst agents to ever learn off because I'm so unreplicable. Because my listing presentation was always evolving, day in, day out, week on, week out. Depending on who I was speaking to, my pillars were the same. How I went through price, marketing, fee, method, timing, and improvements, those 6 pillars that I would touch on in the listing, that was always my process. But what would come out of my mouth would change because my environment would be different. It'd be like saying to a lawyer, oh, what are your cases like? And the lawyer's going to go, well, hold on, dude, what do you mean? What do you mean by what are my cases like? How I research and how I study a case is the same, but how I deliver my findings is case by case.
Yeah.
So my findings in real estate were case by case. I was never a local specialist. I was never an asset specialist. I went with the relationship.
Yeah.
So that's why I loved agency, because I was never bored.
Yeah.
Was there an area you were a specialist in?
People.
People specialist.
I knew how to read people.
Yep. Can I ask a personal question? I'm at this stage now where I actually had a conversation with sorry. Yeah, that's right. I'm running off no sleep, by the way. 0 sleep last night.
Why?
Don't know. Just couldn't
Too
sleep.
excited.
Worst insomnia ever. When I was speaking. No, I wish I had a good excuse for that. So I met with Adrian Oddie and Andrew Liddell from Bressick Whitney a few weeks ago, and they were talking about there's 2 different styles of agents. There's an agent that's in the trenches calling their database every single day with their assistants, and then there's a surface space agent which essentially will have their associate agents finding the leads. They're just going up and stitching the deals. Now, I said to Adrian, I said, well, look, I'm more of a surface space agent. I don't necessarily want to be calling the database every day. I did it for 8-9 years before this. And I said to him, if we take into account every assistant I put on should at least bring 20 sales, why wouldn't I just put another 5 and I'll get an extra 100 sales? And he said, well, technically, that mathematically seems right. What are your thoughts on that?
I just think it's just a lot of hearsay. You know, like everyone's so different. I caught up with someone yesterday who left WHITEFOX and is now at a business which he said yesterday was essentially kind of like glorified telemarketers.
Okay.
You know, people running through the databases and cold calling and doing, follow-up calls and all those sorts of things. It never inspired me to run a business like that. What inspired me was connecting the dots, being a networker, reading the play, following up people that were in the moment and letting them know that if you ever need me, here's my number, save me as Marty Real Estate and call me whenever you need.
So you were in the trenches?
Oh, you have to be in the trenches when you're in your early 20s, because if you're not willing to do the hard yards and the hard work, then how are you going to be able to teach someone else what they need to do? Where we're evolving as a business at WHITEFOX is that we don't have the capacity to take on those types of juniors. You know, we are getting to the point where we've got people that know what they're doing and they want to continually be surrounded by people at that level. And what I want to build is a marketing team that can pack the punch to build someone's profile. If they've got the skill, then we can take them to another level through social.
Okay.
We can take them through another level through culture, through support, through having like-minded people that can pick up the phone and say, hey, what would you do on this deal? Like our leaders within this business by the end of the year are some of the best operators you can find, not because they're phone monkeys, but because they're balanced. They're great people, they make good money, they've got outside interests, they've got families, they've got more than just real estate. I don't want a business that's just full of real estate agents. I want a business that's full of people that I really love.
But what if we're doing that? What if you're doing that plus adding some? So I'll give you an example. So I'm running...
Well, sorry, what I will do is I'll answer. The question was too money driven. Why not put on 5?
Yeah.
The issue is any decision that's solely based on the finance will fall over.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Why not just put on 1? And why not get that 1 to the point where they don't have to be there? And then get the next one in.
No, that's the plan.
And then get the next one. So I think like right now, how many juniors
Yeah.
are in WHITEFOX, let's just say in Melbourne right now?
Yeah.
There's 2.
Like
There's only 2.
under our ages.
Yeah, there's 2.
Really?
Yeah, there's Imogen and there's Ari. They're both
Yeah, okay.
21.
Yeah, okay.
In Perth, how many juniors are there? 1 or 2. There's 15 agents.
Very different model.
Well, the model's different because it's not about let's just hire a whole bunch of, and not to be mean, but
No, of
let's just bring in a whole bunch of shit and then we'll, whoever doesn't succeed will fuck off and we'll keep the 2 that are great. Why not just try and nail in on who those 1 or 2 are and just put all your eggs in that basket, give them fucking everything, and if they don't make it, it's on them because it just maybe it's the wrong fit. But I think that for me is the way to do it.
I really like that.
I do like it too, but I'll go a bit more in depth into my situation. So I'm around the 2 mil mark now. Got 3 sales associates that are prospecting for me, listing and selling as well. The goal is to go to 3. I've just put on a 4th. They start in a few weeks. It's going to help me leverage and do more. Now, my goal is, and the way that I'm thinking, is get this guy trained up over the next 3 to 4 months. That way I've got 4 sales associates prospecting my core area. They've got 2 people that can already list and sell. I've got 1 that's a junior just prospecting. All 3 are still prospecting. Now I'm going to put on another prospector. Once that's 3 months in and the machine's turning, put on a 5th. And then again, repeat again. Do you not think that's good?
I think
Be brutally honest.
I think that revenue
Yeah.
is vanity and profit is sanity.
Okay.
And I'm hearing a lot of revenue.
Okay.
And I want to know what your profit margins are.
Okay.
And I want to look at your P&L.
Yeah.
And I'll give you an answer.
Okay.
Because I think you're too focused on what's up there and not what's left in your pocket.
Okay. Fair. But what if, for example, if you're having, even if those 20...
I'm bang on here.
No, I get it. I get it.
Because what you're doing is you're also not accounting for the intangible. So I'll explain the intangible.
Yeah.
You get 24 hours in a day.
Yeah.
You're adding these people to bring in more boards.
Yeah.
Okay?
Essentially.
But with those people comes more problems, more coaching, more time.
Yeah.
Now, with that comes your energy and your capability. So you need to figure out what's going to be a better life, more revenue or the quality of time that you've got with the 3 that are doing well.
Okay.
And then figuring out where are they going to go, because all I'm hearing is associate 1, associate 2, associate 3, associate 4, associate 5.
Yes.
I'd love to know where those 5 want to be in 3 years' time.
2 of them will step out within the team, listing and selling within my team, but on a debit credit system within my team in about 6 months in their own core areas. They've been with me for a few years now.
I think you've got a lot of moving parts and you've got a lot of reliance on people.
Yeah, I do.
And when you've got so much reliance on people, it can make you feel very uneasy.
It does sometimes.
Uneasy. What makes you say that?
Because people evolve and it'll get to the point where their skill will get to a level where they actually don't need him. And your return on your time will diminish and it'll go from what it is now to 0.
So what would your suggestion for me be in this moment right now? Not just base level what you know now.
Either open your own business. If it's not already your own business, I don't know where you are. Or look at how when those people get to the level where they don't need you, you still have an interest in their growth, which is being a business owner.
Yeah.
Yeah, because in your current situation, you'll get them to the point where they need to be, but then they'll leave because they have to leave.
Okay.
Because there's a ceiling. And you've put the ceiling on them.
Yeah. So how do you retain...
Fuck, that was really good, by the way.
This is good, by the way. This is really good. How do you retain your staff when they get to that point then?
By
Like
never
you
having
said.
a ceiling.
Yeah.
By never having a ceiling.
Yeah.
And by asking where they can go. And by also saying to them, do you realise that if you do X, Y, and Z, you can get to here? And then they go, fuck, what do you mean? How? And you're like, well, this is how you could do it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No, thank you. Appreciate that.
Marty, my last question for you personally is I would love to achieve a similar result in the fact of building a business where I can get off the tools more and create more financial time freedom rather than financial freedom, financial time freedom. What would your best pieces of advice be to someone in my shoes that wants to get to yours? Not in sense copy you, but just model.
You need to figure out what it is that you need in life to maintain what it is that you have. Then you need to know how to commercialize your skill and show someone how to do it to your level and standard, and do it with them side by side until it gets to the point where they're like, you don't have to come. And then do it again and do it again and do it again. And those people take on your journey. Take them with you. Take them with you so that you're not getting off the tools, you're on different tools.
Ooh. Not off the tools, but different tools.
Yeah, I'm not off the tools. I'm hands-on.
Yeah.
I'm the busiest you'll meet today. My tools are different.
They're sharper, they're stronger.
I don't have the hammer and the nail.
Yeah.
I've now got...
the fucking bazooka.
Well, I've just got different tools, but I was the hammer and the nail.
Yeah.
So it's about evolving your toolkit and building different shit. But making sure that you're not forgetting how you got onto the new toolkit. Because it's the basics that get you everywhere. It's the 1%ers that open all the doors. It's the trust equity that you build in your sector that open up more. But then when you get to that point, you've got to then push the boundary again, push the limit again. Keep being fresh. Keep mixing it up. Have a curveball. Be unexpected. Otherwise, you do get the copycats, and the copycats then diminish your punch in the market.
Always evolving marketing, always evolving pitch.
Mate, we had the best boards in Australia.
Yeah.
Bang, change them when they were at the shit hot, and we went curved.
Yeah.
You know, that's just one little thing. It's just one little example.
Yeah, you pulled everything apart. I remember you saying.
Yeah.
Fuck, you used to do good creative boards. Like I remember when I was at Henderson, like you used to do creative. Something would happen in the environment and you'd write about it.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
We just got to keep mixing it up. And also, the text boards were so good, but also they weren't mature. And now we're maturing. Now we're 7 years old, which is still a fucking baby. I was 7. I mean, where are we at 10?
Age appropriate.
Time appropriate. But it will be different in different regions.
Yeah.
You know, in Perth, we're doing the text boards.
Yeah.
In here, we've sort of pulled them back a bit. In new regions, they'll come back. But you have to evolve. But you need to make sure that you're staying true to the pillars. And the pillars of WHITEFOX are still very strong. We're very bold, we're very polished, and we're matter of fact.
Yeah.
So we're not going to do something unless it stands out. We're going to do it unless it sounds really, really, really deliberate, matter of fact. And it's always going to look good. It's always going to be polished.
Now, a couple of
Just
questions
like the hair.
have come up. Actually, the same thing. Where are we? What would a young real estate agent have to do to make their way to WHITEFOX? There's a few of those similar questions. And by the way, Marty, we're going to have to wrap up after this one because we need to get Lana on.
Maybe one more.
Just punch them. Just punch them. Just ask the questions and go bang, and we might make it so waffly. So, what does a young agent have to do? Put in the work, stand out, be bold, be polished, be matter of fact. Fucking like, how do other young agents make their way
WHITEFOX,
in?
yeah.
Leave your value.
Whoa. They make an impact. How did Ari get in here? I was having a family breakfast with the kids in Charlotte in Armidale. We clocked him from 30 metres away. He clocked over. Charlotte goes, he's an agent. I said, yeah, well, you're a genius. It's Saturday, he's in a suit. And he came over and he said, mate, I just want to shake your hand and introduce myself. My name's Ari. Sorry to interrupt you and your family time. I love your stuff. One day, I'd love to make a big impact on this industry like what you have. See you later. Great to meet you. I said, whoa. Add me on Instagram. Loved how you've just done that. See you later. Boom. 2 months later, he's at WHITEFOX.
Yeah, that's awesome.
He made it happen. I didn't make it happen.
Yeah.
He made it happen. Same as Imogen. She made it happen. You know, people can send you a message, how do I get a job? Make it happen. Because if you know what, if you can get yourself a job, you also can go get a listing.
Yeah.
You make it happen. Listings don't land on your lap.
100%.
What other questions you got?
Your last one.
You go, bro.
All right, my last piece of advice. There's a large cohort of young agents and up-and-coming agents that listen to this podcast. What would be your number one piece of advice for agents trying to break through? They haven't broken through. They're at the 100, 200, 300K level. What would your best piece of advice be?
I nearly quit real estate so many times because I couldn't break through. I couldn't land on who I was, what I was. I can show some photos of me, like as a young agent, trying different things, wearing glasses to try and look more trusted, you know, wearing particular things to try and come across, you know, taking older 60-year-old agents in to try and give me credibility, door knocking, video, like I just tried everything. I just stuck at it.
Yeah.
A rolling stone gathers no moss. And I'd get home and I'd say to Charlotte, I'm fucking done. I'm fucking done. I didn't go to university to fucking be an agent. And I've just lost 3 listings back to back. I'm fucking done. And she's just looking at me and she'd say, stop being a fucking little bitch.
Really?
And just get the fuck back, and just get the fuck back out there and just keep going.
Slapped you over the head.
Slap me over the head and stop saying, pull your fucking head in and just keep going.
Yeah.
And I was just like, fine, fuck. And I'd call mum and I'd have a whinge and I'd be like, Mum, when's it going to happen? She just said, just keep going.
Yeah.
Keep going. Like, just don't stop. And that's the thing. Most agents turn into great agents if they just keep going. Because you build up that resilience.
Yeah.
And that's all it comes down to.
I agree with that.
Resilience.
I agree with that.
Resilience and just keep going.
Just keep going. Oh, how's that? Hey, Charlotte.
Hey, where are you?
I'm just doing a podcast, but how many times did I try and quit real estate? And what would you say to me?
Quite a few times. Why?
Like what?
Just suck it up and keep going.
Well, thanks for that, Charlotte. You're now live on a podcast, so thank you.
Just suck it up and keep going. Yes, Baba. I'll see you soon. See you, Baba.
All right, see ya, bye.
How's the timing of that?
That's awesome.
Just suck it up.
Suck it up and keep going
is what she'd say. And for all those young agents out there, just suck it up, shut the fuck up, back yourself, brush your hair, get the fuck out on the beat, and keep pitching yourself, keep knocking, keep calling, because you haven't earned the right to be an attraction agent yet.
Clip that the fuck out. That's
And write your goals.
That's a viral reel. Thanks, Marty.
Good.
Marty
Appreciate
Fox.
you, man.
Well done.